So welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning on the Be the One podcast and carving time out of your busy preschool morning. So I know we know how hard it's been to even schedule this. So thank y'all for making it work. But we're so glad y'all are here to talk about shared journaling.
Thanks for having us.
I think it's one of the coolest things. I'll have to tell you my own shared journaling story, but I can't wait to explain this to our parents because and to hear your perspective of what a cool thing it is to incorporate into your classroom. But before we get started, y'all tell us who you are and your role here at Brookstone for our listeners.
Well, I have been at Brookstone. This is my 8th year. I have taught 2nd grade and now pre-K.
Okay.
And I have 3 kids, a 7-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and then an 11-month-old boy. So we've been here. I've been in Columbus for about 10 years.
Okay.
And just found such a home and, family here at Brookstone. So
that's awesome. Good. Okay. How about you, Taylor?
My name's Taylor Caldwell. This is my 2nd year at Brookstone. I have taught pre-K, though. This is like my 10th year.
Okay.
And I have a daughter that's 11 and a little boy that is 3.
Okay. Okay, so now that we know what you guys do, and y'all are both teaching our 4-year-olds, correct?
Yes.
That is correct. In the preschool building, which, as we say over here, is like the happiest place on campus.
The sweetest place.
It is the sweetest place. I mean, we love it. And I know that it keeps y'all separate from main campus in some ways, but yet it doesn't feel that far. And it's such a sweet building to have all those 3 and 4-year-olds together.
And there's windows
Yes.
into every single room, so you just feel so open, and
I know.
it's just special.
And the view out of the family room is just one of the most beautiful views of campus, I think. I just love it. So,
It is.
So anybody who's listening who has not been over there, we hope they get to go see the
Yes.
preschool soon. So today we are talking about shared journaling. And but before we get to that, what does a typical day look like for y'all in pre-K?
In pre-K, we start the morning. We'll go to the carpet, and we have carpet time, and we do like a quick calendar review. But I think one of the coolest things that we do, I've never done this before teaching pre-K, but we do like a phonics lesson with them,
neat.
which they don't even really understand what they're doing completely yet, but it just builds so much phonemic awareness.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the coolest things about pre-K in general is they don't really know they're learning.
Right.
It's not like
Right.
they're not getting any grades. It's just we get to make it so fun. And so the crafts they're learning like fine motor skills, but it's fun. The books are fun, but they're like learning how to recall information. It's
Right.
just the best grade. It really is the
I
best
love
grade.
it.
There's a lot of play, but in that is, always learning.
Right.
Whether it's the social skills or communication skills, or it's, content that they don't realize they're learning something about, science or
Right.
social studies or something.
Right.
And a lot of math.
And a lot of math, yeah. What is it, Mr. Mills, who we love, has said before that quotes Mr. Rogers, that like the work of a child is, or play is the work of a child.
Exactly.
And then that's just what y'all do every single day.
Yeah.
So, and don't have a child there this year, but for the past 2 years have had a daughter over there. And I mean, to say she loves school is, oh my word, it's almost an understatement. I mean, she loves it so much. So y'all have done an amazing job. Continue to do an amazing job over there. So you talk about, so basically the foundation you're laying in pre-K is to get them ready for kindergarten, but number sense, phonemic awareness, like you said, learning to write those letters, and but what else is incorporated in preschool?
Yeah, so handwriting, and then, like I said, the communication and social
Yes.
skills, getting them ready to, be with other kids and learn in different ways.
Right.
And it's so we have the time to kind of step in and like help them work through those, little moments with another child that
Right.
are hard.
Right.
And we can kind of teach them how to use their words.
Right.
And so many other grades, you just don't have the time to
Right.
like step in that way.
It's so true. It's so true. And boy, how much learning happens when these little ones are learning, especially those who might be used to not having to share at home or
For sure.
get a lot more of their way, if so to speak. I know you see a lot of opportunities to instruct and redirect and all those things.
And
So,
independence.
yeah.
You know, putting their own
Sure.
stuff away and all the things that come with being independent.
for sure, yes. And you do such a good job at that at school. Sometimes I wish our teachers could come home with us and teach our children how to do these same things at home.
Yes.
Especially independence.
Oh my goodness.
But so shared journaling is one thing I feel is really unique to us as a preschool. So I wanted to give y'all the opportunity of telling us what it is, how you incorporate in your classroom, how you incorporate it in your classroom, and what it looks like.
So typically, shared journaling is done with a little bit older students, so like kindergarten age. But we felt like our kids were ready for that in pre-K, and Taylor's even tried it in 3K.
Oh, really?
I did last year.
So what the students do is we sort of ask them if anyone has a story that they'd like to share, something that's happened in their life, or they might tell us if they have something exciting to share, and it helps us to manage the blurt outs about their weekend,
Right.
constantly.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
okay, we're gonna wait for shared journaling, and remember that you want to share that, and so it kind of gives a space, more structured space for that to happen. But so we pick two or three kids when we do shared journaling to share a story, and then they get up in front of the class and tell the story. We try to get them to tell, about their senses, like what did you see, what did you hear, or incorporate, who was with them. And then after the students have shared, the class sort of votes or negotiates on which story they are really interested in and that they like to write or illustrate for that day. So then everybody writes or illustrates the same story, which for one helps develop a sense of, empathy for
Right.
the student who shared, and, typically at this age, they are very self-centered or self-focused.
Yes.
So this kind of gets them out of that
Yes.
their comfort zone with that, and thinking about another student. So they illustrate the story, and then we dictate what they wrote. So they tell us their story, kind of retell the story, and that is just a great skill for starting to develop their writing skills and
Right.
recalling or retelling. So and then we send home to the parents for them to see the stories that the kids have written. And
And the students can retell the stories to them too.
Yes.
So they can go back through them and look and see if even like a month ago they remember what was told to them, which is
Right.
another moment for them to try to recall.
That's awesome. So how unique is this in your world of teaching that we as a school are trying to impart these skills to 4-year-olds?
it's really cool for me. It was really cool for me at first, especially because coming from second grade, I was working with students who could write stories and develop, story ideas and illustrate. And then coming to pre-K, I didn't know as much at first, and I was like, these kids don't know how to write stories. But it is writing a story in their own way, and they start with pictures, but by the end of the year we have some who are trying to write words or beginning letter sounds for words. And so I was just amazed to see how much they can do at this age, and it is writing. And one thing that one of my students said last year after we had started shared journaling, we would talk about how, in a book, we talk about the author and the illustrator. You guys are being authors and illustrators.
Right,
So
right.
he wrote a story, and he was like, look, I'm an illustrator now.
Oh my gosh,
I'm an author now. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
I've
for
never
sure.
seen anything like shared journaling, just like the
Really?
confidence that the kids, even the shyest kid, will get up and be proud to tell a story about themselves.
Wow.
And their ability to like ask questions grows so much during the year because
Yes.
I'll like prompt like, did we have enough details? What details
Right.
do you need? And then they'll ask like, what were you wearing? Like, what did you see? So it just makes them use their brains in a way that like I didn't even know, even
Right.
having done this for 10 years. Like I've
Right.
never known pre-K students could do this. And
That's
then
awesome.
at the beginning of the year, they're also like just trying to say who was in their picture. And
Right.
then we're prompting them like, don't tell me who's in your picture. Tell me about your story. So then they have to
Yes.
change that like that thinking
Right.
into how they would write it down.
Wow.
And it's really neat.
That's awesome. Now, is that something you start pretty much at the beginning of the year, or how do you even begin to teach that, or does it just come real naturally?
I know I think all of us, we started with a story that we all experienced.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, I think the first one we did was like a fire drill.
Right.
Like, what did we do during that fire drill? And like,
Right.
we shared it, like I shared it,
Right.
and then went back and drew the picture. And so modeled it that way a couple of times before
Okay.
we kind of opened it up for other people to start sharing their stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, I don't know if I haven't told y'all my shared journaling story, but and I really didn't know anything about shared journaling at the time, okay? But last year, my daughter was in pre-K, and pre-K gets out at noon, and so we went to a birthday party that after school, the whole grade was there, and I walked in to this birthday party, and Esther was not with me. She rode with someone else, and I met her there, and people started congratulating me, and they were so excited for me, and they were just thrilled because I was having a grandbaby, and I was so flabbergasted at where this news was coming from because it was one person after the next, and again, it's like 12:05, like school has just gotten out, but and then somebody eventually said that was Esther's shared journaling story this morning, and I was so befuddled because my son and daughter-in-law had just told us that weekend that they were expecting, but under the guise of, we're not telling people yet. And so,
Right.
but never in my wildest dreams did it dawn on me to tell Esther not to say anything. Like, it just never even crossed my mind. So anyway, she must have gotten up and just shared that story so loudly and proudly.
She was so proud.
She was so excited. But then, like I said, those kids went home and told their
Yes.
mothers, and I mean, so fast. So I got on the phone with my daughter-in-law at the birthday party. I was like, I'm just going to let you know, please don't hate me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Esther
so
has
funny.
just told her entire class. But it was precious. And
Yeah.
sort-
Sweetest way for news to spread.
I know,
Yes.
no kidding.
Yes.
So anyway, but the power of that story and the fact how it stuck in, her classmates' minds, it was actually really sweet.
It is funny
And-
to see what stories they choose to share.
Right.
Because you'll have, someone tell about a new toy they got at Target and how
Right.
amazing and
I was about
exciting
to say,
that was.
there's a lot of stories about Target.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But then
that's
you'll
so
have,
cute.
someone having a baby or,
Right.
a wedding or something like
Yeah,
that. But-
something big like that. I know.
But it's,
So,
they see things, it's interesting to see into their brains a little bit.
Right,
On, like,
yes.
what's important to them.
right. I know. It's just precious. And so I think it is a really powerful skill to impart to them. And then just, it just sows those seeds of, I'm an author, I'm an illustrator, and I have a story to share. And so,
And to be proud and excited for their
Right.
friends when something exciting happens. Like,
Yes.
it's incredible I think moving forward, the bonds that these children will share, I think will be so strong because they've been
Right.
listening to each other
Right.
from the very beginning.
Yes.
And they're curious about each other's lives.
right. It really builds community. You know?
And you do have some who will get upset if their story isn't picked
Yes.
for the day.
I was wondering about that. Like,
Yeah.
if theirs is not voted on. So how does that work?
So we talk in the beginning, about how if your story isn't picked, that's okay. This is just the kids were more interested in this story today, but that doesn't mean your story wasn't good.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll say we have writing center as a choice when they have center time. So I'll say if you want to write about the other story, you can do that during centers or a different
that's
time
a
of the
great
day.
idea. Yeah.
But it does take some time for them to get used to
Right.
just that feeling of disappointment or,
Right.
nobody liked my story.
Right,
And so
right.
we do have to work through it kind of as we go. We'll pull them
Right.
aside after, we've sent everyone off to work and talk to them, to that
Okay.
student about it. But
Well, that's
they're pretty
great.
good about, if someone does get upset, you'll have the person next to them rubbing their back and saying,
yeah.
it's okay, your story will get picked next time. So they are really developing that sense of community and just
Yeah.
being there for each other. Sweet
That's
to
really
watch.
sweet. Well, that's a skill set in and of itself to learn, is that you might not get voted on every time. I mean, nobody likes that, but that also is a really good thing to start engaging this age
And to still be happy for the person that did win. if you
Exactly.
couldn't.
Yes. And that's a hard lesson. So,
And we do try to sometimes, if someone's story hasn't gotten picked all year, we'll try to push, a little bit
right. Right.
for them to vote for that one.
Right. Yeah.
Gently.
Yeah.
Oh, remember when they talked about this?
You really want to draw that, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the ones that have stuck out to you that have made you chuckle or been poignant or anything?
Oh, this is one that stuck out to me, and it wasn't even in my class, but my nephew is in Abby's class, and so she came and told me that he chose to share about a sleepover that he had with all of his cousins
Aw.
at my mom's house.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And he titled it Cece's Magic Sleepover.
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh,
it's
that'll
the
melt
most
your heart.
precious thing.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's adorable.
So they do come up with a title too.
Okay, well, so I know we've already alluded to this, but speaking in bigger pictures, or in the big picture, what makes Brookstone Preschool so special? I mean, there are a million things, but if you could pick one, what would it be?
Well, you talked about how just us being in that building by ourselves is really special because we are sort of a family
Right.
and everybody knows each other. The kids know each other, they know the teachers. And so it makes this big campus seem smaller for
Right.
them.
Right.
But then it's special that we get to travel over here for our
Yes.
special classes.
Yes.
So we do get to see the big kids and
Right.
the teachers that they will be having, in the future. So they're kind of introduced to that before they, are in kindergarten. They get a little taste of being over here
Yeah.
on main campus.
That's fun.
So I think it's cool that we get to travel back and
Right.
forth.
Right.
I think what I've loved so much is my team. Like,
Yeah.
the people that I work with, that we get to really communicate with each other and plan these lessons that are just specific for these children, and there's no competition, and we just all really want what's the best
That's
for our
awesome.
class,
Yes.
and it makes it really special.
Yeah. And I think you can say that school wide. I mean, people love the people they work with, and that everything just is about what is best for the kids and how we can make this place better. But I really do think that's something really special about the school. I feel the same way about my team. I forgot to ask you, so we may go back and interject this, but did you both go to the conference about shared journaling?
Yes,
So was that this past fall?
it was November.
In November. Okay, so tell me about that. Where did y'all travel?
So we traveled to Nashville, and we went to the we say NACCE conference.
Okay, what does that stand for?
Oh
goodness, National Association for Children,
Education of Young Children.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
National Association for Education of Young Children.
Okay.
Maybe. So this conference was huge. Lots of people there. But you could pick the sessions that you went to and learn more about teaching. Preschool, and some of the sessions were geared towards what we teach or, for the kids, and then some
Right.
were geared towards us as teachers, like
Okay.
how for us to develop and grow.
Yeah.
Wise.
For our session, we spoke about shared journaling and then put samples on the table
Oh, neat.
for the other
Yeah.
teachers to kind of look at. And then we walked around and they kind of asked us questions like, this is my classroom, how can I incorporate this
That's neat.
in this way? Because you can use it in so many ways.
Right.
Like, we do it this way, but I think the who we were with, Jan Burcham, she did it every day in her classroom.
Really?
And that's not something that we can do because our program is only until 12. But
Right.
there's just, you can differentiate it in so many ways.
Well,
That's
and then
neat.
there were teachers there who teach students with special needs, and so
Right.
they were asking, how can we incorporate this, with
Yes,
them,
yes.
and they were already thinking of ideas of having the kids share their stories in different ways. So
That's really awesome. What a great experience for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it was a little nerve-wracking to present, to lead a session,
Yes.
but that's what an honor for you guys. So that's really exciting.
yeah.
Well, have y'all been able to stay in touch with any of those people to see how they've done, or is it too big
No,
a deal?
We did give them our emails,
Yeah.
but I don't think.
No one has reached
No.
out.
Okay.
But
Well, I
yeah.
saw pictures of it. It was like a big session.
It was.
That's
The room,
really
there was
exciting.
people on the sides, not
Yeah.
even in chairs.
yeah, yeah. We didn't know what to expect, and
Right.
we're a little nervous. But
And nobody was leaving because
Really? Yeah.
even in our sessions, some of them we would like tiptoe out of early.
Right.
And nobody, I don't think
Everybody
anybody really
stayed.
tiptoed out early.
That's awesome.
they were
Well,
interested in it.
that's so fun. And you guys obviously did a great job with that. That's awesome. Okay, so shifting to our core values that even we impart even at the youngest age. We have 7 core values here at Brookston, and I always like to read them so I get them in order. Loyalty, courage, wisdom, honor, respect, service, and leadership. So, sometimes people are like, those are too fancy a word to teach to little kids, but I think y'all do a good job modeling that. So tell us, how do you see these playing out in the preschool?
You say the words are too fancy, but we do wow words every day. We do a wow word, which is a fancy word if you want to call it that. But big words that they learn, and then we talk about what it means and what it looks like. And so they're used to learning big words. But
Good.
But when we talk about the core values, we may not use those terms. So
Right.
for example, with like the courage and honor for shared journaling, I think that we talk about being brave to get up in front of your class and
Yes.
And having the courage to do that. And then we talk about being respectful when your friends are sharing
Right.
really throughout the day, when someone else is talking or when the teacher's talking, being respectful and showing honor by giving them, your attention.
Right.
And then I thought of a funny story with leadership. We have a class leader each week, and so the leader gets to lead the line, and they bring snacks for the week. They get to have Bubba the Cougar and take him home.
Go home. Yes. That's a big deal. Yes.
So they have special privileges for the week, the leader. But I was talking about how, everyone can be a leader by doing the right thing. And, if you're the first one on the rug, you can be a leader by showing everyone how you should sit and how you should act. But they got so confused by that. They were like, I'm not the leader this week, though. And I was like, well, you can still be a leader. So I did have to explain that word in more depth because they were just so confused about, we're not all the leader this week.
Right.
And I'm like, but you can be a leader.
Yeah, there you go.
All the time. And so there are
what a
moments.
great opportunity to explain that.
Yes, there are moments where you can go into it more explicitly, but but for sure the values are just incorporated throughout everything we do.
Yeah.
And we do servant leadership,
Yes.
which is another really special thing about our school. But they get to experience serving others.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure like you said, even the way they take care of each other and pat each other on the back, the empathy that you guys encourage amongst each other. So that's really sweet. Okay. So I always like to ask about books. I love to read. I wish I had time to read more. So what books stick out to you guys as having an impact on you?
My mind, when you said book, went straight to children's books.
I love that. And it just makes perfect sense.
Because we're preschool teachers.
Yes.
But my favorite book growing up was Max Lucado, You Are Special.
I love that.
And it's also been one of my favorite ones to read to my children because it's just teaching you to not worry about what other people think of you and to just be different and be your own person. And I think that's what we do in preschool too. We teach that all the time there too. And it's just been one of my favorites forever.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that. I mean, I literally read that last night to my sweet little one as we were going to bed. It's one of my favorites. And the line, the stickers don't stick if you don't let them. And I just was like, it's just so true. So what a great thing to teach your kids. So I love that book.
I also love, my favorite children's book would probably be, I can't remember if it's How to Fill a Bucket or How Full is Your Bucket.
Yes.
But I think that's just a really good way to show kids how, what you say and what you do does affect people.
Right.
And teaches them that, what people say and do to you affects you.
Right.
So
that
that's a really good
almost
one.
exactly
It is, yes.
in line with that book too.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
And then one of my favorite books that I've read would be What's Next, which is by the pastor at my church, Pastor Chris Hodges.
Oh yeah.
So it's just a book about, kind of taking next steps in your spiritual growth and reaching your full potential. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, those are great. Okay, so shifting from books to advice. What is the best piece of advice you've been given?
Oh, I do remember this question now.
I was like, did I give y'all any prep for that
you
one?
did, you did. But, my husband and I have been watching Ted Lasso recently.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one episode where he said, "Be curious, not judgmental."
Yes.
And I have it now written beside my door.
Yes.
And my daughter laughs at it, but I'm going to leave it there. Because that's how I'm like, we just need to be curious. If you don't understand,
Yes.
ask questions. Like, we don't need to judge people for being different than us. And
Yeah.
that is my favorite piece of advice right now.
I love that. We use that scene in that TV show in the developmental sprints with our upper school students. And so where he's throwing the darts.
Yes.
I love it. So yes, I am with you on that. Uh-huh.
Such a good one. Yeah, it's so hard to think of like the best piece of advice
I know.
because I do think it's
Too
kind
much.
of which stage of life you're in.
Yes.
Like right now, that's your favorite.
That's true.
But something that I thought of is I can't remember. I think I heard it at church, but you are created on purpose for a purpose, and just
Yes.
remembering that.
Yes.
You know, everyone is different, but everyone's here for a reason.
Yes.
And I want my kids to know that at school and at home,
Yes.
that, you know, your unique gifts and talents are given to you for a reason. And just like, I think, you know, reminding them that you do have a purpose and this can help, you know, lead you to that. So,
I love that. I love that. Which is why you are such great teachers, is because you're taking all this wisdom and teaching it to these little ones. I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing all this about shared journaling. I just think it's fantastic, and I think the more we can use it and the more we can showcase it, it just makes people want to be a part of it, because it truly is amazing to watch play out. And when you would get those things home with all the stories and all the illustrations, and like you were saying, that the children can go back and retell them. I mean, it's just such a beautiful skill set. And even talking in public, I mean, how many adults are like, I could never stand in front of a group? But when you're starting that, when you are 3 and 4 years old, just that will just carry them for life. So anyway, so thank y'all for being here, and thank you for
Thank
what
you
you
so
do.
much.
Y'all are
thank you for having
amazing.
us.